there has to be equal opportunities. I mean, you have to have food in your stomach for education to happen.
Welcome to the WeTransform show, a show where we meet real life transformers and know their stories in the first person because we strongly believe that there is no right or wrong time to transform and we all can transform in life. Guys, today our guest is Saloni Bhardwaj. Saloni has worked in mainstream media for almost a decade, starting her career with BBC Radio, followed by a stint in Hindi news with legendary people like Mr. Rajat Sharma, settled in writing for various publications, magazines, and the famous Times of India. Her heart was always in finding the purpose of life and helping others lead better lives. She transformed and co founded the Lotus Petal Foundation, an organization that provides education and healthcare with livelihood options to the unprivileged children living in the urban slums of India for free. An organization built on the values of integrity and focused on expanding the human capacity to overcome and achieve life of dignity for many and transforming the selves. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Saloni Bhardwaj to the show. Saloni, welcome to the show today.
Hi, Alok. Thank you for having me. Such an honor
Thank you,
to make it
Saloni.
happen.
It is such an opportunity to find your time and have this conversation. I'm so happy that I have got you here because when I read about you, when I got a chance to work with your organization, I always knew in my heart that this is a person who has definitely transformed and there is definitely a story hidden. So I need to get it to my audience. So thank you, Saroni, for finding time today.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Saloni, so let's get started. I guess there is a lot to learn from you because I keep finding your inputs and your posts and they're very inspiring. So guys, let me tell you, I was privileged enough to get part in the journey of Saloni and the Lotus Petal Foundation because the team I was working with, Focus You, we do a lot of team building activities and one of those is cycle making activity. We call it velocity. And when we do a velocity activity, we get participants who actually make us be bicycle to all together. And then this bicycle has to be donated to people or kids from the unprivileged background. And that's where Saloni comes in here and she helps us to get those lovely kids to our workshops and we do a little ceremony at the end and we give those bicycles to those charming kids from Saloni's NGO, and that is how we are connected to Saloni. So Saloni are doing amazing work that way, and I'm so happy that you were able to do something for
Thank
Lotus
you,
Petal
Alok.
Foundation.
And thank you for being such an important part of the lives of our children and giving them the experience and exposure and those lovely, colorful bikes every now and then. Thank you. We still see
Yes,
them.
we get it decorated. Yes, and we in fact get it decorated because it's a gift. And Saloni, I get so moved by the stories of those kids. Some of them choose to speak on the mic at the end of it, and they take so much pride to speak on the microphone in front of all those guests. We get goosebumps every time we close the ceremony. We always do that, and it is such a delight to be able to do this kind of work. And coming back to you, Saloni, I wanted to know where your story started from. You have some amazing names attached to your profile. I want to know the beginning of your story, how it all started.
Like now when I look back, everything seems like serendipity or 2020 or like there is a plan. But I truly, truly believe that if you're committed and loyal and focused on finding your purpose, the universe does really have a plan. It's just that every now and then we have to muster courage to surrender to that plan, and your physical and your environment around you starts to give you those indications of what next. It's just that we are very scared to follow them through. And the story of Saloni is the story of any girl growing up in a small town, which is now a big city. I grew up in Lucknow, in a working middle class home of very, very hardworking parents, and the value of two hardworking young people, sending us to good schools, we sisters, so that we can speak better English than both of them can, and that we can have a better life that they have. Those values, and that gratitude stays with you and should stay with you, really. And I'm sure, this story is resonating with you also. I'm sure your parents worked hard to enable you to sit where you are right now. And I'm seeing the fabulous kind of portfolio that you interview and you meet, so I'm sure so that's one thing. My story is the story of every child in Lotus Petal also. I mean, they are in a different socio-economic sector, but their parents are also working really hard to give them a life that they truly, truly deserve. So yeah, so I grew up in a middle class home of two working parents, and there was not a lot of money, but there was a lot of discipline. There was a lot of focus on the values. There was a lot of abundance, that there is always enough. And if you work hard, and if you organize yourself and keep working hard, you will get more, and you can get that what you want. So the focus was never on things. The focus was on having a good life. The focus was on having a good, fun community, good relationships, and healthy people around. And my parents were not just sending me and my sister to a good school, but also other relatives and their children. So the whole idea of a flourishing community around you was very important. When you're little, you don't know what is your purpose and what you really want to grow up to, but there was this little thing inside me, even when I was growing up in the small town and living in the smallest house, that I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to see the world, because in spite of not having internet, I knew that there is a very beautiful world outside these narrow lanes of the small city. Like, the lane where I lived did not even have street lights, and we could not even go out to my, the rickshaw that we used to go to school. The sham, if it's late in the evening, you need to be escorted home. So I knew that there is a life outside all of this, and all the lovely books that we read, all the Enid Blytons told me that there is England and there is America, there is Christopher Columbus, and there is a map, there is an atlas, there is dictionary, so you can learn a good language and you can travel. So at that time I wanted to be an air hostess, because that was the only way I could earn and go. But when I think of it, that now, as a supposedly wiser woman, I think the whole thing was that I wanted to grow. I wanted to go out of my comfort zone, and I wanted to meet more people, and I wanted to experience life. I wanted to be free, and I did not want to be defined by that small little lovely comfortable home and extended family. So I think now when I look at that little girl of 7, 8, 9 years, I could see that there was this little thing. That search was so relentless that it became as an angst inside me. Have to go out. I have to leave Lucknow. I have to study outside. Whether I have money or not, I will work. And I will, you know, I'll do whatever it takes with the right values. But I will work hard, because like I told you, going back to the values of growing up. If you work hard, if you organize yourself, if you do things on time, you can get to the next level. So with those little principles, I did push myself, and with every change in the city, with every change in the country, or every change in the environment, something changes. And something changes because you are out of your comfort zone. But before that, before you even embrace that change, there is a lot of fear that comes in. And that, Alok, that fear is is the turning point of whether you want to transform or you want to succumb to fear.
Very well said, Saloni. In fact, there's so many things I can relate so well. When you said that, you want to grow, I come from Varanasi and I have very similar experiences. You want to expand. You want to open up and breathe. Some people call it have wings. All of these dreams, especially we kids from small towns, do have that. We see all those things, and you said
Mm.
atlas. I used to love atlas. I still have my atlas from my school with me,
I
and I
still
show my
do.
daughter
I still
that
do.
atlas and tell her that no, we you never
I
used to have
still do.
Google Maps. This was our Google Maps, and I know every page of it from beginning till end. So yes, yeah, so that
Same.
dream was the dream builds up in the situations like this. And I'm so curious to know which part of Lucknow you were, because I have been very frequent to Lucknow in my childhood. Where were you staying?
So I still have my Frank Atlas and
Okay.
my Oxford Dictionary, and my children still need to have an atlas and a globe because we I feel like
Yes.
that is like the core of many things. So I grew up.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know the
Yes.
Charbagh railway station? And there is an area called
Now
Blunt
that I
Square,
don't know.
Mavaiya.
Mavaiya, I have heard, I think. Is it nearby somewhere?
Yeah, it's very. It's near. You
Ah,
can walk
okay,
from the railway
okay, okay.
station. Okay, and my I lived there, and my parents sent me to Loreto Convent, where
It's the
it was
best.
the poshest of posh, and they had the courage to send their child to that school. And my dad had a scooter, and friends were the DM's daughter,
Hmm.
the CM's daughter, the most wealthy city businessman's daughter, and these are these are key
Yes.
transformative signals, Alok, when you sit with them and with your little one or two Camlin pencils bought from the neighborhood shop and with their Stedler
Yeah.
pencil boxes and their just came back from London's socks and stationery. These are combative
Yeah.
things for a child while growing up. We were like 30, 35 girls in
Hmm.
one class and two
Yes.
sections. It was so elite. And I'm not going to name the politicians and the uh, really influential people. I mean, they were a part of my growing up because
Hmm.
their daughter studied with
No, I
us.
know. I can tell you.
And
I studied in St. John's in Varanasi. It's one of the finest school there, and yeah, it's like one of the
best,
best.
best.
And I can tell you, when you were saying that your parents work hard. My mother, when I got admitted in that school, literally fought with everybody around her to let her do that, because the fee was way less than compared to what fee we pay these days. But it was still too much for her to afford. But she made sure that both the kids go in this school because it was the best.
That's
Curtailing
what.
and stopping every other expense in the house so that she is able to meet that, giving the fee of that school. So yes, so much, so much,
Yeah,
so much gratitude towards our parents. So Saloni, coming back to your story,
yeah, yeah.
you said that the change instills the transformation. So what you did after that?
Every city and every country or every destination that I changed was with a desire to grow, to learn, you know. And every place that I lived and every person that I met taught me what I could be or what I should not be. You understand? And with every experience that I was able to stretch myself, I became a new person, right? And once you keep changing to becoming that new person,
Absolutely.
you are a new person. Now, but this can be very disorienting for someone like me. I mean, I've lived in three countries and I call them home because the relationships I've built over there are like really home for me. This can be disorienting also. And this is the time, when you have multiple successions of transformation, grounding yourself into the values of your growing up, of your home, are extremely critical and
So
important.
true. Yeah.
You understand? Because it can be anything. Um, for me, transformation hasn't happened one
Okay.
time.
Oh my.
It happened in the last week
Yeah.
also. It will happen in the coming week also. You know, there is no heroism to my transformation. There is no putting myself on the pedestal that I
Hmm.
transformed on
Hmm.
this day or that moment. There is no stardom to my transformation. There is a commitment to my purpose and to my goal and to the
This is so,
objective
you're
of
so
my life.
humble, Saloni. I think there is a lot of
And that
heroism in your
has,
transformations, and I can see that right now. But I'm with you on this mindset which you have, which is very, very strong, and it can take you to places. I want to know that this whole when you transform, when you changed your cities and the locations, was it through journalism, or you also changed the career in between?
um, my careers have been excuses. My choices of
Okay.
education have been my excuses. My choices of living my life have been excuses to change places and destinations of where I want to live. The truth is that I just, I just, uh,
Okay.
I just believe the whole world is my home, and I can, and there are people and experiences I need to go and meet and embrace and learn. And I think the biggest turning point of my life was into between 2008 and 10, when I realized that all human beings are the same. You know, they are really the same, no matter where they live, what color they are, what
Hmm.
sexual orientation they are, how much money they have or don't have, but every single human being is the same. They respond to certain beliefs or values
Hmm.
differently because of how they are raised or where they live or the conditioning. But every human being is the same. And when I reached this epiphany, I felt I did not want to go any further, but I just wanted to work towards having my own charity or doing my own thing because I wanted the whole world to converge and help each other. Because if all of us are the same and all of us are suffering and want to help each other so that we stop suffering, then it's as simple. You know, all the boundaries and the politics and the religion and the color and the orientation, it's all an illusion. It's all Maya.
Saloni, this is so strong, and I connect it back to 2 years back, when I went for my Vipassana meditation. I had some insights about it. I heard from people that it's a very good form of meditation. You have to keep quiet for 10 days. It's a very, very self-reflective and all. But in that meditation, they tell you in the evening there is a disclosure from the Guruji, who is no more, Mr. Goenka. It's the recording that they play, and that's when he told me about this whole science of human beings, that they are same. It's like there are animals, there are mammals, there are amphibians, there are humans. So it's just one, and the way they live
Same.
is the dharma. That's when he talked about. For basically, he said that the dharma of fire is to burn. The dharma of ice is to do, cold the surroundings around it. Likewise, dharma of a human being is similar. That's how it was formed. It's only some people who made some different rules and regulations and have different religions, and they call it dharma. Dharma is not that. Okay, this is getting very spiritual, but yes, it is right there what you talked about. Human beings are same. They get the same kind of
Yeah.
pain. A small
Same.
kid, an orphan in India or in Pakistan or in US will still feel the same hunger, still miss the mother. It's all this. Yes.
The longing of love, the family, the community, the tribe, the affection, the attachment, disappointment, despair,
Absolutely.
hopelessness, it's all the same. It doesn't matter who you
And
are
it is
and where you live and but how you respond
culture.
to
It
certain
is so
things, it's because of
liberating,
the cultural conditioning.
Saloni, when somebody
Yeah.
gets an epiphany like this. It actually frees you. It literally frees you from everything. Yes.
It literally does free you. Yeah, it literally does free you. Yeah. So in that duration, in that sense of joy, what uh, in many of these transformations, that there is you feel like a
Hmm.
next level, and there is a sense of joy after a lot of turbulence and stress. And in every such transition, I think one thing that has always calmed me is to serve, to volunteer, to reach out to communities in rough neighborhoods, to just hold a hand or just to rub a back or just to crack a joke. And whether I've lived in England, and I studied in the University of Sheffield, and I used to work for the Pakistan Muslim Council and working for these immigrants and families from Pakistan who were not who were having difficulties in acclimatizing to the British culture, and how they were raising their children who were going to regular British schools, drugs, domestic abuse and alcohol, working all of those teenagers and young kids, you know, that comforted me, and I became very loyal to that comfort. And even when I lived in the United States, I think one thing that was always very soothing to me was to volunteer. And America is such a great country, and has such generous
Hmm.
people, and giving is so organized that for seekers like me, it's just so easy to get into a system. Whether you want to go to a soup kitchen, or whether you want to go to a shelter, or whether to, you volunteer into a fair trade store or a retail place, there are so many opportunities, and people are open to discuss these things. So it was a very big learning for me, and that was, I think, a surreal transformation, because I could articulate the abstract then. And in that articulation of the abstract was, I felt that I wanted to go home, and that was India. And
Wow.
I want to have my own charity one day, because I want to, I want to touch it. In the
Hmm.
West, no matter how much I was doing, I wanted to, I wasn't able to touch it so close
In
as I'm
fact,
able to touch it
I was
right now.
thinking to ask you this question
I
that
met,
you are in US and we call this word the American dream. I guess you were well settled there, and I think we once had a word on this that you wanted to live in a beautiful place and all those things around you. And then India, why it all happened? I
yeah.
think the why is coming so clear now.
Well, I loved my life in the United States, and some of the people who are closest to me, who I call, you know, who just get the pulse of who I am, are not even Indians, and have not even come to the country ever, and I'm not even sure if they will ever. But it was a lovely learning ground for me, and it continues to be a lovely learning ground for me in many ways. But to grow, I
Hmm.
think it's very important to outgrow, and um, um, I just was outgrowing my life there. And I think what I want to do in terms of service, I think that search always leads my path of my life. And I did not know I
Hmm.
will have a charity like the way I have. I did not know whether it will be focused on the areas that it is. I was younger and naive, and had watched too much Oprah, so I had no idea which way it's going to be. There was too much of idealism and naive also.
Yeah.
I can go back to India and do everything better. So, and but I definitely had known one thing after working for many, many charities and for many different causes. I knew that the cause of
Hmm.
everything is the lack of education. Whether it's trafficking, whether it is FGM, whether it is homelessness, whether it's drugs abuse, whether it's climate,
Yes.
whether it's any form of exploitation, the reason is
Hmm.
that they are not educated.
Yes.
Period. Education is long, boring, tiresome. You have to be in a system, in an honest system, which will give you education. You have to be present in that. It's long. It's not that a celebrity gave you $1 billion and there is like
Hmm.
solar panels and the climate is fixed. There is no fix to
Hmm.
education. You have to be in a classroom every day. You have to go to school. Your school is bombed. If your school is
Hmm.
bombed, there's no school. So the environment has to
Hmm.
make education conducive, and there has to be education. There has to be equal opportunities. I mean, you have to have food in your stomach for education to happen. You have to have a healthy body.
Yeah.
You can't be sick. Your parents or your support system has to be healthy and has to live in one place. So I had the understandings of all of these things, but I still did not know
Okay.
that it will lead me to where it has led me. But yeah, so I took a chance, and I had two lovely children, and I wanted to raise them around uh, my family, and so the decision was taken, and
Wow.
it's been a great
Yes, here
ride,
you
and
are,
here I
and
am.
you're creating so much impact. And Saloni, you know what? I felt that I thought that I know about how NGOs add value, but this last sentence or the thing which you just shared has really given me another perspective. Yes, you know, a very small thing. You want to educate people, you have to feed them first. These kids, they can't be educated when they're hungry. So it's not that you just tick mark one thing and you're done. No, you have to hold them like your own child and nourish them and grow them into the tree they want to be. And this, you can't leave this plant in just give water and it's not done. You have to do much more than that. What was so beautiful thought process his. But before I go to ask what does Lotus Petal do, I want to know a little bit about Mr. Rajat Sharma because I'm really curious to know about your that side of your story, about the journalism side as well, if you are open to share that.
Yeah, sure. So I came back from Sheffield after working with the BBC radio, BBC Asian Network, and I was trained in the University of Sheffield. So I also got the great opportunity of interning at very
Mm-hmm.
um, dream come true kind of places in,
Mm-hmm.
London, Leeds, and Leicester. So it was, and I was very young, and I had, to keep my bills flowing. I had worked in very interesting places like the Wimbledon and different McDonald's and bars
Okay.
and restaurant waitressing and everything. So, I come back as this young kid with a lot of hair color
Yeah.
to work in India, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And at that 2003, the in 2003-4, the
Mm-hmm.
Indian media scene was transforming. There used to be one Doordarshan and Star News, and everybody used to be in that. But soon a lot of channels were supposed to be coming, and NDTV
Mm-hmm.
24/7 happened. Star News took off separately. Aaj Tak happened.
Okay.
I was in the middle of all of that. So when I 2003, I just felt like I know everything, and I just know so well. And I come here and I was directed that, if you want to do well in the future, you must work in, the Hindi section
Mm-hmm.
of the media. So,
Mm-hmm.
I know Hindi. I'm Indian, and I did
Mm-hmm.
so well in my school, and
Yes.
I can do everything. When you're young with so
Yeah.
hair color, that's how much you know. So I got the opportunity through some good contacts to meet Mr. Sharma and with an interview, and I got the job, and I was, gotten as the cub, as they call it, and
Yes.
he's phenomenal, and he's a master script writer, extremely down to earth, and a very simple person. And uh, I learned a little bit of script writing from him because, with where he was and
Mm-hmm.
where I was, there was not a lot of interface. But that was close to him,
Mm-hmm.
they still continue to be my mentors,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned a lot through them. And of course, even though I was so young and did not have so much
Mm-hmm.
experience, I got the right exposure in terms
Mm-hmm.
of, going to right political places and government places because of
Mm-hmm.
the network that Mr. Sharma had. And it was a short
Okay.
run. I would not say that I worked with him for many years, but it was eye-opening. It was
And it is
eye-opening,
said that
and
when
it was
you rub
amazing.
across some legendary people in your life, you learn no matter what. Being around them also is
Yeah.
a blessing to be, and I'm sure it does.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, even a nod or an acknowledgement or like a little look that this was a good
Wow.
story meant a whole lot to me. And it was a big challenge for me to adjust in that environment because it was a different language and The script writers came from a completely different world from me, and it was my first work experience in India. So it was very different from what I had learned, where I was trained, to what I was doing in television, was very, very different at that time. It was extremely difficult,
Yes, it is. It
but
is indeed.
transformative.
Right. Yeah.
Didn't give
Like,
up.
so was it like the time when
So,
India TV was formed, or I think it was a different channel at that point of time?
so we were independent media at that time, and India TV was going to happen. So I did work on building up the stories for the bank for India TV, and yeah, and India TV was just we were on the
Wow,
verge of
wonderful.
transitioning into India TV.
Yes, it is
Yeah,
always.
it was an
And
interesting time. Yeah, we got that letter that India TV is coming,
wow.
and there was the whole
Now, tell me
exuberance.
something that, you said that you came back to India after from the US when you had this epiphany that you have to serve, get connected to the roots. But opening up a NGO or opening up an organization is not an easy thing. It does not happen overnight. I have tried certain things and I've failed in a very fantastic way in in the startup world. So I can tell you, it's not so simple. How did you go about it? How did Lotus Petal happen? What is that story?
So, Lotus Petal was founded by a great friend of mine, Kushal, and it was a registered trust, and it was
Okay.
already 3 years, 2 years old when I met him after my return, and I was brimming with ideas and looking for a non-profit, and I did not know that this would be the. I did speak to a few of my other friends here and in Lucknow who had a non-profit, but apparently my ideas were too ambitious for people to incorporate in their non-profit. With ambition, I mean that I felt that when you ask anyone to invest even 15 or $20 in your nonprofit, um,
Okay.
I wanted them to be a part of it. I wanted them to know where their money is going. I wanted them to have direct access to their contribution. And that is not very easy to make happen, right? So I was doing a lot of fundraising while I was in the United States for different international nonprofits. And I did have a basic donor base who always, in England and in America, and they always used to, whenever they would be making small contributions here and there over Christmas or Thanksgiving, they would be like, Sal, do you know somewhere where I can send this money? Or do you know, now that you've moved to India, do you have a small charity where I can give this? I don't know where my money is going. It's getting lost. So I always used to feel that when I will do it, your $20 you will know where it has gone and what impact it has made. So, when you are saving up that from your grocery bill in the
Wow.
month and giving it to Lotus Petal, you know where it's going, the impact it's making on the child's life. You can come and volunteer, you can come and visit and have a cup of tea over here, and you can be a part, and even in the small or the big way, you know that you have changed the world. And that was something extremely important for me, and when I met Kushal, he was working full time and in an overseas role and traveling, as I say, about 40 days in a month. So it gave me a great opportunity to, share certain ideas of mine and work together on cleaning up and getting more registrations and opening up the place so more people can come and be a part of it. The organization was primarily run by his own savings at that time. And when
Yes.
you run a place with your own money, it's got a different sensibility. And when you invite other people
Yes.
with the wish that they become a part of this journey, it's a completely different sensibility. We did a lot of things to bring the cost of the place down, put in a lot of systems. The funds that we were raising, we decided it should go to the lease of the building and the salaries of the teachers. And the other things we decided to raise through donations in kind. And these things continue to be a part of Lotus Petal. Coming back, to saying about transformation and how when you transform multiple times, the only thing that keeps you sane and constant and grounded is the values of growing up. So values of growing up in a middle class home are a part of Lotus Petal Foundation.
Yes.
You know, when you want something, you save up. Remember, while growing up, when we wanted something, we saved
Correct.
up for Diwali, for Holi, for your birthday, and then you got that
Never.
one item. You didn't swipe a card and got it. So you know, when you want something in Lotus Petal, you make it a part of the donation list, and there will definitely be someone who wants to help you out and will pick it up and make it happen for you. And these elements bring the cost of running Lotus Petal at a place where I can confidently ask people to contribute further and make
And
sure
this is
that
so
their money is
important,
going
and nothing
directly to the
against large
child.
NGOs, but I have done that. You give funds to them, and probably it's like an ocean. You just don't know. Though they do some amazing work, and to due respect, but yes, if you can, so when you donate,
They do
you
great
feel
work.
good.
Yeah.
But if you know what is happening exactly with that, to whom, you have meaning. I think there's a little difference here, and we all seek meaning of what we are here for. So
Yeah.
what you are driving
Yeah.
is very different, and it is very
Yeah.
very impactful because of that. I think a lot of people should know about this, and I'm so happy that we are having this conversation in this on this topic
Yeah.
today.
You know, two things I want to add to. You know, the cost of admin at Lotus Petal continues to be below 7% year after year. It fluctuates between 5 to 7%. It is way below the industry standard. You know, that is
Wow.
our commitment to the child and to our donor, right? Because money that comes from somewhere goes straight into the child, whether it's in the uniform, books, food, healthcare, or their overall well-being, but that is going directly there. And then, and this is coming, again, I will connect a value around which this is built. You know, we truly believe in the intrinsic goodness of people and that how people want to help the other person,
Yes.
right? Everybody, you know, human beings are the same. You're in America or Canada or Africa or New Zealand, everybody is looking at helping someone. And when you help someone you do not know, that is selflessness. And when you do that, a little bit of you changes and changes forever. You're not doing something for your child, for your neighbor, for your mate, for your nephew, your niece. You are doing it for a stranger with the hope that something changes in the world, someone's life becomes better. And this is the grounding factor for Lotus Petal, and this is the grounding factor for our lives. And this is what is the
Wow.
motivation for Transformation Day After Day
Inspiring.
to make this
Saloni,
happen.
I can tell you something not as at level which you do, but a very little one. So what we did is that we made an activity which is called Random Acts of Kindness. And there are a lot of team building activities we do, and they're competitive in nature because people like to compete and have fun and engage as well. While it is competing, it asks you and your team to go out and do random acts of kindness. Like, for example, just find a stranger, absolutely a new person you don't know, and do something good to that person. Don't give money, but do something good. Offer food, offer help. Maybe find a 65 plus year old uncle in the park and help him how to navigate through WhatsApp. Even that is help. Yes, small acts. So what
Or,
happens? And people
yeah, or
get
just help
points.
him
They get
cross the
hard
road.
points for every action they do. So teams come back with all those hard points, and of course there is one winner who has done maximum hard points. There's one single activity in which every team feels elated after the activity, not because they have won, because they have done something so meaningful. So it is just an activity which can bring so much positivity. Imagine the kind of positivity you are building, and everybody who is doing so much good to society is building. So congratulations for such an impact in the world, Saloni. And
Thank you
one more
so
thing, I
much,
think a
Alok.
lot of people will be
Thank you
very
so much for
curious to know how can they reach you, how can they find and help Lotus Petal, or maybe go and visit, meet the kids. What is the best way to do that, Saroni, if you can tell me?
So the easiest is
Okay.
just go on to our website, lotuspetalfoundation.org, and you can volunteer. You can volunteer if you live in and around Gurgaon in person, or you can e-volunteer from wherever you live on this beautiful planet. You can make a contribution. You can run a campaign. You can raise new and old items that our children or our extended community can use. And there are tons of ways that you can be a part of the organization and be engaged. Lotuspetalfoundation.org and Lotus
Wow,
Petal
and I'm going
Foundation
to
on
share all the
Facebook,
links right here.
Instagram, and
And do
LinkedIn
follow
also.
Saloni as well. She just shares some very heartfelt content sometime. Of course, that script writer is always there and she writes beautifully. So do follow her. I'll share her handle as well here, guys. And Saloni, it was so amazing to know you, to know the story of your transformation. And I'm sure a lot of us are feeling inspired, including me, right now. So thank you so much for joining us today, Saloni. Thanks a
Thank you
lot.
so much for this opportunity, Alok. Thank you.